Hi, I'm Marty Cohn, and welcome to episode 27 of Rotary Cares, the monthly award-winning show that will tell you everything you wanted to know about Rotary International and more. Rotary is a global network of 1.2 million neighbors, friends, leaders, and problem solvers that come together to make positive, lasting change in communities at home and abroad. Established over 115 years ago, Rotary now has over 35,000 clubs all over the world. Rotary's motto is service above self, and Rotarians adhere to the four-way test, an ethical guide for Rotarians to use for their personal and professional relationships. The test has been translated into more than 100 languages. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? In Brattleboro, there are two Rotary clubs. The Brattleboro Rotary Club that meets every Thursday over lunch, well, actually, during COVID, we meet over Zoom, at the American Legion, and the Brattleboro Sunrise Rotary Club that meets every Wednesday over breakfast or Zoom, also at the American Legion. Today, we will be discussing passing the gavel, a time when a club president steps down. Our guests are Brattleboro Rotary Club past president Sandy Rouse and Brattleboro Sunrise Club past president Kevin Yager. Welcome, Sandy.
Hi, Marty.
Well, thanks for coming on our show. It's hard to believe when we do this every year, and we talk to past presidents. How long have you been involved with Rotary?
18 years. I joined up in March of 2002.
Whoa, okay. And you joined when you were a teenager. And
I was.
Do you remember why did you join?
Well, I've always loved community service. I was very active where I used to live in Dallas, and I was looking for a way to get involved in the community. So that's why I joined.
So you were club president from 2013 to 2014, following a very tough club president. That was me.
You were a tough act to follow.
That was me. What goal do you remember? What goals did you set for yourself as you became president?
You know, my biggest goal, I think, was just to build more of a team feeling within the club, and to get people really all feeling like they were important, and getting more people involved and getting them and making decisions and things like that. That was my biggest goal.
All right. Well, so reflecting back, what were some of the memories from your year as club president?
Well, I remember, I was kind of an 11th hour replacement for our president-elect, who suddenly moved out of the area. So I remember being sort of panicky for a while. I remember the epic snowstorm that was happening when I had to go to Framingham for president-elect training, that allowed me not to get there till Saturday because I was coming out of Boston. And I remember being terrified that I would have a bucket of ice water thrown on me at the,
Actually, Sandy, that was a club tradition, but unfortunately, or fortunately for you, unfortunately for me, I was the last club president to have a cold water dumped on his head.
Well,
yeah. So I took that one. I took that one for you.
Thank you.
And
I remember, mainly I remember wrapping up Irene projects. That was primarily spent the whole year doing things around, the state politics and all the things we were working on, and trying to get everything wrapped up and done. Right. And And so, yeah, that was really the big thing.
So in the ensuing 6 years, since you were club president, how have you remained active in the club?
Well, I've stayed involved in community service. Of course, I work on the golf tournament and Christmas trees like everybody does. And I work on the car show. And I've worked on senior gifts, which I now lead, where we wrap and deliver 300 holiday gifts to area nursing homes. And of course, I've done a lot of miscellaneous, painting, worked at the Welcome Center, painting the retreat barn, the food shelf, food pantry, that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Well, you have definitely remained active. So again, reflecting back, what changes have you seen since you were president?
I've seen that new members are more quickly moved into leadership roles, which is great, and that and of course a lot of our membership has aged out, so we have a much younger club now than we used to have. I guess those are the two major changes.
Yeah. And so let me ask you this, and this will be my last question for you. What's the best thing for you about being a Rotarian?
Well, again, I would come back to the community service, because I think that being in Rotary gives you an insight into the local community, and it also provides you with opportunities to serve the local community, which is a perfect combination.
Okay, well, Sandy Rouse, thanks so much for taking the time to be on the show.
Thank you, Marty.
We'll be right back with our guest, Kevin Yager. But first, this brief message from Rotary International, doing good in your community, doing good in the world. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Rotary Cares, the award-winning monthly show that demystifies Rotary International. Our guest is Kevin Yager, a past president of Brattleboro Sunrise Rotary Club. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you, Marty. Nice to be here.
Well, thanks for taking the time. Hey, so how long have you been involved with Rotary?
I've been a Rotarian with the Sunrise Club for 25 years. I was actually one of the original charter members back in August of 1995.
Wow. That's a all right, 25 years. That's a while. Now,
and there are only I think there are only 2 of us left in the club who were original charter members.
Wow. All right. So you're gonna stretch some gray cells here. Do you remember, why did you join 25 years ago?
I joined actually at the behest of John Penfield. John was our first president, and he was very instrumental in shepherding the club along through the early stages of getting us to the point where we had enough members and we were at the point where we could be a chartered club. And he, at the time, he was a client of mine through the radio station, and we got to be friends, and he just reached out to me one day and said, "I want you to come to Rotary."
Wow.
At that time, we were meeting out at the old country kitchen in West Brattleboro.
Oh.
And that's where we had our meetings. And I went to a meeting and found that I knew a lot of the other people that were there, struck up a lot of friendships, and I felt also that it was a good extension of my work in radio sales, that I could certainly make a lot of good business connections and increase my list of friends, because we had only been in Brattleboro about 6 or 7 years, and I really hadn't established myself at that point. So I thought Rotary would be a really good way to get involved and help the community.
So 6 years after you joined, you became club president from 2001 to 2002.
Right. I followed Jack Mann, actually, who just recently passed away. I was Jack's president-elect. And yeah, I was trying to think back on, all of that time and trying to remember some of the experiences that I had. I do remember going to Jack actually took me to a Rotary conference on Cape Cod, I remember. I'm not sure exactly what the conference was all about. I don't think it wasn't a district conference, but I went down and, had a pretty good time and sort of got indoctrinated that way. I do remember prior to that at PETS, I was in Nashua, and that was, sitting in a room with other, president-elects, many of whom were in the same boat I was, smaller clubs, but we all sort of had the same experiences. But it was a fun year. The one memory that I take that I still get kidded about to this day from those who were there. I remember when I put my budget together, I actually took a meeting and went through the budget line by line. And I'm often reminded that when we have budget discussions, and I perk up and I say, I'm happy to go through this with everybody line by line, but
Right.
no one takes me up on that offer.
No, yeah, for sure. So 2001, 2002, it's now 2020. How have you remained active as a past president?
Oh gosh, I have been involved in our 3-on-3 basketball tournament over the years, and we would have been, this last March would have been our 23rd year, and I was involved right from the beginning. Have been very instrumental in shepherding that through the various stages. I participate with Project Feed the Thousands. I sort of coordinate. Our club is responsible for doing the pickups of the food, and I've been coordinating, getting all the volunteers together for that. I was vocational chairman for a few years, and instrumental in getting our student Rotarian program up and running many years ago. And I now do much of the PR work for the club with newsletter, not necessarily newsletters, but with press releases and that sort of thing. And I think I've got perfect attendance. I just enjoy the meetings. I just enjoy, going once a week and having breakfast with everybody and just being able to sit there and talk and learn and find out about what's happening. So yeah, I don't think there isn't much that goes on in the club that at some point I haven't had my finger in or have helped with or something. So I try to stay as active as I can, if not physically, at least by coordinating or planning or something like that.
That's great. So now let me ask you this. Thinking back, well, you don't have to go back 25. I'll just make you go back 18. What changes have you seen in the club over the last, 2 decades?
Well, to echo some of Sandy's responses from earlier, we've certainly seen the age of our club change. We're not as old as your club in terms of average member age, but many of us came up through with children in car seats, and now have children who are grown up and married and producing grandchildren. So, our club was very much a family oriented. We've seen more women join. Certainly, I think overall that has changed respectively with both clubs. But I think, less of an emphasis on attendance and more in the quality of the Rotarian than the quantity. Our club sits somewhere around 35 to 40 members, and we've tried to make a concerted effort to really pay attention to, who's coming into the club and what do they bring to the club and how do they work into the Rotary ideals, rather than, building it up so that we have, 50 or 70 or, 100 members. But I think the makeup of the membership has really changed. It's become much broader. A lot of folks who work in the nonprofit sector are joining the club, and people that want to be involved, that want to be active, that want to give back to the community, I think are seeking out Rotary as a place for them to be able to do that.
Great. All right. So same question I asked Sandy. For you, Kevin, what's the best thing about being a Rotarian?
The best thing for me is the camaraderie, is the relationships that I've built over the years with my fellow members. I thrive on that sort of thing. It's who I am. I'm involved in that on a daily basis, and I really get a thrill, as I said before, about going once a week, sitting down and having breakfast with a group of people who I consider my friends. The one thing that really I enjoy is when you pick up the phone and you call another member, you don't have to worry that they're not going to take your phone call. You've already made that connection, and they're much more willing to talk to you than they might somebody else who doesn't have that relationship. So yeah, I enjoy that very, very much. Yeah.
That's great. Well, Kevin, thank you for being on the show.
I appreciate the invitation.
Well, I'd like to thank our guests, Sandy Rouse and Kevin Yager. By the way, I usually give a shout out to Kevin for doing the magic behind the cameras, and I look forward to the show when we can return back into the BCTV studio. We'll hopefully be able to do that. Speaking of BCTV, I want to thank BCTV for recognizing us as the 2018 Nonprofit Member of the Year, an award we carry proudly. And a special thanks to Brian Brashaw for helping us bring this show to you. If you have any questions, concerns, or even ideas for a future topic, send them to info@BrattleboroRotaryClub.org, info@BrattleboroRotaryClub.org. I'm Marty Cohn. Thanks for watching.